Now, for a lot of people, what they tend to say is that some people don't believe Moses and the Israelites were able to come to the mountain, Horeb or Sinai, in the third month. But in chapter 19 of Shemoth, Exodus, it says specifically from verse 1, in the third month after the children of Israel had come out of the land of Mizraim, on this day they came to the wilderness of Sinai. Now, what is interesting about this is that it doesn't actually say what day it is. It just tells you on this day, um, in the third month, they came to Mount Sinai. And then if you go on in chapter 20, this is where the traditional story of Shavuoth comes from, about it being in the third month, because Shavuot is basically the festival when the fire came down on Mount Sinai and the Torah commandments was written. And when the Torah commandments were written, it was sealed um, in this third month. Just reading from Exodus 19. If we carry on to Exodus, now when we get to Exodus 24, what is interesting is that after all of these, especially the feasts, were spoken the first time, um, what happens when you continue on, if you go to chapter 24, when you read verse um, 7, the book of the covenant, and he took the book of the covenant and read in the hearing of the people, and they said, all that Yahuwah has spoken we shall do and obey. And Moshe took the blood and sprinkled it on the people and said, see the blood of the covenant which Yahuwah has made with you concerning all these words. Now, this is interesting. This is very interesting because um, what's happened is that people say that, well, that's not the story, because what happens is that if we go to, now, the reason why people, another thing people tend to say is that if you go to Exodus 32, they speak about, well, if you go to Exodus 32, the high priest was the one that ordained a festival. Let me just read verse 1. And when the people saw that Moshe was so long in coming down from the mountain, the people gathered together to Aaron and said to him, arise, make us mighty ones who go before us. For this Moshe, the man who brought us up out of the land of Mizraim, we do not know what has become of him. And Aaron said to them, take off the golden earrings which are in the ears of your wives, your sons, and your daughters, and bring them to me. And all the people took off the golden earrings which were in their ears, and brought them to Aaron. And he took from their hand, and he formed it with an engraving tool, and made a molded calf. And they said, this is your mighty one, O Israel, that brought you out of the land of Mizraim. And Aaron saw and built an altar before it, and Aaron called out and said, tomorrow is a festival to Yahuwah. And they arose early on the next day and offered burnt offerings and brought peace offerings, and the people sat down to eat and drink and rose up to play. And Yahuwah said to Moshe, go get down, for your people whom you brought out of the land of Mizraim have corrupted themselves. Now, this is interesting, because if you go on um to for verse 26, it says, and Moshe stood in the entrance of the camp and said, who is for Yahuwah to me? And all the sons of Levi gathered themselves to him, and he said to them, thus said Yahuwah Elohim of Israel, each one put his sword on his side, pass over to and fro from gate to gate in the camp, and each one slay his brother, and each one his friend, and each one his relative. And the sons of Levi did according to the word of Moshe, and about 3,000 men of the people fell that day. Now, this is the story where people like to link it to say this was the festival of Shavuot, because they like to say that just like in the book of Acts, 3,000 people were added. On this day, 3,000 people fell. In the book of Acts, 3,000 people was added. So they say this is the festival Aharon was talking about. He was talking about Shavuot. But if you remember specifically, when I read those first chapters, in chapter 32, we pick up that Aharon was given golden earrings and so on and so forth from the people, because Moshe took a long time coming down the mountain. Then Aharon on this festival built a golden calf. Now, when Aharon has built this golden calf, Yahuwah has then said, the people that you have brought up out of the land of Misraim have corrupted themselves. And it goes on to say 3,000 people were killed. Now, it's interesting because we have to remember one thing, especially when we're dealing with marriage. In marriage is a covenant where you say, I do, and in marriage is also a blood covenant. As we know, when you have intercourse with a woman, you take her virginity, there is blood involved in that. In this story, you can say, yes, there is blood. 3,000 people were killed. You can say, yes, there is blood. But we do not see anywhere where it says, I do. So you do not have an I do part of the covenant. All you see is that Yahuwah was angry and people are killed. And even the high priest would have been killed. So this is a simple thing I want people to ask yourself. Is this a story that you are going to tell your children, this is how the festival of Yahuwah was? Because if so, then why are we not doing the same thing now? Do you see what I'm saying? This was built to a golden calf, and it's Aharon that says, this is your mighty ones that led you out of the land of Misraim, and said, tomorrow was the feast to Yahuwah. Aharon was high priest, but that same high priest that said all these words, Yahuwah would have killed him. If Moshe never interceded for him, he would have died. Whilst if we go back to chapter 19 and to the traditional Shavuot, what's interesting about it is that after everything, we have everything Yahuwah says we will do and obey. So you have the I do part of the marriage. And then Moses took the blood and sprinkled it on the book of the covenant. So ready to show that the covenant was sealed before anybody else, and the covenant was sealed in that time period. So if that is one, what is this next festival? Are we celebrating the one that like I'm saying, I'm not trying to disrespect anyone, but I just wanted to ask you this. I just wanted to say this: are you going to celebrate the festival that the blood was spilled over the covenant of the book, or are you going to celebrate the festival just because of 3,000 and 3,000 that was made for golden calf? Like, I don't know about everyone else, but for me, I'm not celebrating a festival that was made for a golden calf. In my festival, there's no golden calf involved. I'll tell you that. But sorry. Sometimes you could just get so riled up about things. I apologize. Let's go to the book of Jubilees. We'll go to chapter Jubilees, the book of Jubilees, and we'll start from chapter 1. This is the book of Jubilees. We shall be starting from chapter 1. And it came to pass in the first year of the exodus of the children of Israel out of Egypt, in the 3rd month, on the 16th day of the month, that God spoke to Moses, saying, come up to me on the mount, and I will give thee 2 tablets of stone of the law and the commandment which I have written, that thou mayest teach them. And Moses went up into the mount of God, and the glory of Yahuwah abode on Mount Sinai, and a cloud overshadowed it 6 days. And he called to Moses on the 7th day out of the midst of the cloud, and the appearance of the glory of Yahuwah was like a flaming fire on the top of the mount. And Moses was on Mount Sinai, the mount 40 days and 40 nights. And God taught him the earlier and the latter history of the division of all the days of the law and of the testimony. And he said, incline thine heart to every word which I shall speak to thee on this mount, and write them in a book, in order that their generations may see how I have not forsaken them for all the evil which they have wrought in transgression the covenant which I establish between me and thee for their generations this day on Mount Sinai. And thus it will come to pass when all these things come upon them, that they will recognize that I am more righteous than they in all their judgments and in all their actions, and they will recognize that I have been truly with them. And write these for thyself all these words which I declare unto thee this day, for I know their rebellion and their stiffneck before I bring them into the land of which I swear to their fathers, to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Yaakov, saying, unto your seed will I give a land flowing with milk and honey. You can see already that at the start of this chapter, in the third month, on the 16th of the third month, the glory came down on Mount Sinai, which also, well, according to those of the Essenes and the Falashas, it also coincides with what happened in Exodus. Now, when Moses, after everything has gone on, if you want to see the time Moses went up to Mount Sinai and so on and so forth, you'll have to go back to Exodus and read the whole story. So you can understand what's going on in chapter 1 of the book of Jubilees especially. But because of time and I don't want to try to drag things on, you can already see that this third month is interesting, because this third month is already spoken of, and that is something that I want to touch on, especially in the book of Jubilees, because what's happened now is that because of it's an interesting thing, because there's a scripture that Yeshua said to the Samaritan woman. She said, do you not say she said to his apostles, do you not say until 4 months until cometh the harvest? No, was it, sorry, I think it was to the Samaritan woman. Sorry, my knowledge of the New Testament has diminished throughout these few months. But he said, do you not say 4 months then cometh the harvest? Now, because of this, people like to say 4 months, meaning the Shavuot must mean summer. But people don't seem to take into account that maybe, what if he was saying, why are you not saying until 4 months and then harvest comes? So the time when he could have been speaking about this could have been, for example, in the 11th month, 11, then you add 4 months to get 12, 1, 2, 3. You'll be in the third month. People don't seem to take that one into account. And even if you go to Amos, the book of Amos, it's interesting. If we were going to say that, if we were then going to speak like that, if we was now, I can now do the same thing. If I go to Amos chapter 4 verse 7 and read, and also I have withholden thee rain from you, when there were yet 3 months to the harvest, and I caused it to rain upon one city, and caused it not to rain upon another city. One piece was rained upon, and the piece whereupon it rained not withered. So if we want to do the same thing with the Messiah, was with he saying, okay, 4 months until the harvest, meaning it's the summer, then with this Amos chapter 4 verse 7, when the Most High speaking through Amos, he says 3 months until the harvest. So you can see, okay, what's going on here? Do you see what I'm saying? Are they both really going to contradict each other? That's what we're going to have to ask each other. That is why I like it when I feel like it says, line upon line, precept upon precept, here a little and very little. And another thing which I like is that I was speaking to a brother, and he was saying that one of the brothers was telling me that for someone who doesn't understand much, something like this may not be so important. But for someone that's been in this walk or for quite a long time and reads regularly, you're going to have to show them quite a lot of evidence. So that is why I'm trying to do this. I'm trying to show as much evidence as possible. But you can see already here that we can't be mistranslating and taking things wrong of what people have said, because bear in mind that if it was to the Samaritan woman, if I've got it wrong, I've already showed you that even if you go do your own research, that the Samaritans celebrate Shavuot in the 3rd month. So that in itself is a dead argument. But yeah, just I don't think continuing on waffling. Sorry, I'm just talking bare, you know. Um, sorry. Going back to the Book of Jubilees. Now we shall be going to the Book of Jubilees, chapter 6. With the Book of Jubilees, I'm going to cover the whole of chapter 6 just to make my point. Okay, sorry, bear with me. And on the new moon of the 3rd month, he went forth from the ark and built an altar on that mountain. And he made, so you can see already from chapter 1, it says on the new moon of the 3rd month, he went forth from the ark and built an altar on that mountain. And he made atonement for the earth and took a kid and made atonement by its blood for all the guilt of the earth, for everything that had been on it had been destroyed, save those that were in the ark with Noah. And he placed the fat thereof on the altar, and he took an ox and a goat and a sheep and a kid and kids and salt and the turtle dove and the young of a dove, and placed a burnt sacrifice on the altar, and poured thereon an offering mingled with oil, and sprinkled wine, and strewed frankincense over everything, and caused a goodly savour to arise, acceptable before Yahuwah. And Yahuwah smelt the goodly savour, and he made a covenant with him, that there should not be any more a flood to destroy the earth, that all the days of the earth, seed time and harvest, should never cease. Cold and heat, and summer and winter, and day and night should not change their order, nor cease forever. And you increase ye and multiply upon the earth, and become many upon it, and be a blessing upon it. The fear of you and the dread of you I will inspire in everything that is on the earth, in the sea, and in the sea. And behold, I have given unto you all beasts, and all winged things, and everything that moves on the earth, and the fish in the waters, and all things for food, as the green herbs I have given you all things to eat. But flesh with the life thereof, with the blood, ye shall not eat, for the life of all flesh is in the blood, lest your blood of your lives be required. At the hand of every man, at the hand of every beast will I require the blood of man. Whoso sheddeth man's blood, by man shall his blood be shed. For in the image of God made he man. Now you increase ye and multiply on the earth. And Noah and his sons swore that they would not eat any blood that is in any flesh. And he made a covenant before Yahuwah forever throughout all the generations of the earth in this month. On this account he spake to thee, that thou shouldest make a covenant with the children of Israel in this month. Bear in mind, we're still in the 3rd month, upon the mountain with an oath, and that thou shouldest sprinkle blood upon them because of all the words of the covenant which Yahuwah made with them forever. And this testimony is written concerning you, that you should observe it continually, so that you should not eat on any day any blood of beast or bird or cattle during all the days of the earth. And the man who eats the blood of beast, of cattle, or of birds during all the days of the earth, he and his seed shall be rooted out of the land. And do thou command the children of Israel to eat no blood, so that their names and their seed may be before Yahuwah our God continually. And for this law there is no limit of days, for it is forever. They shall observe it throughout their generations, so that they may continue supplicating on your behalf with blood before the altar every day, and at the time of morning and evening they shall seek forgiveness on your behalf perpetually before Yahuwah, and that they keep it and not be rooted out. And he gave to Noah and his sons a sign, that there should not again be a blood on the earth. He set his bow in the cloud for a sign of the eternal covenant. There should not again be a flood on the earth to destroy it all the days of the earth. For this reason it is ordained and written on heavenly tablets that they should celebrate the Feast of Weeks in this month once a year to renew the covenant every year. And the whole festival was celebrated in heaven from the day of creation till the days of Noah, 26 jubilees and 5 weeks of years. And Noah and his sons observed it for 7 jubilees and 1 week of years, till the day of Noah's death. And from the day of Noah's death, his sons did away with it until the days of Abraham, and they ate, and they eat blood. But Abraham observed it, and Isaac and Jacob and his seed observed it up to thy days, and in the days of the children of Israel forgot it until you celebrated it anew on this mountain. And do thou command the children of Israel to observe this festival in all their generations for a commandment unto them. One day in the year in this month they shall celebrate the festival, for it is the feast of weeks and the feast of the first fruits. This feast is twofold, of a double nature, according to what is written and engraven concerning it. Celebrated. For I have written in the book of the first law, in that which I have written for thee, that thou shouldest celebrate it in its seasons, one day in the year, and explain to thee its sacrifices, and that the children of Israel shall remember and shall celebrate it throughout their generations in this month, one day in every year. Stop right there. So, as you can see, we are in the middle of the third month here, and what is going on? An angel speaking to Noah, telling him that in this month, being the third month, is the feast of the harvest and the feast of the first fruits. And it even goes on to say in this book that it was engraven on the heavenly tablets. Once again, it mentions that Noah celebrated it. It was celebrated in heaven from the days of creation to the days of Noah, 26 jubilees and 5 weeks of years. And Noah and his sons observed it for 7 jubilees and 1 week of years to the day of Noah's death. Now, that there is the part I want to cover now, because for us to understand Pentecost, we also, or Shavuoth, there's also something else we need to understand, especially when we're dealing with this book, and that is, what is a jubilee? How do you celebrate how do you hallow in a jubilee? Because by the hallowing in of a jubilee, if we can understand how we hallow in a jubilee and what a jubilee is, we could understand this feast of Shavuoth and how many days it is. So please bear with me. The first place we shall be going to is Wayikra, or Leviticus chapter 25. We shall start from verse let's start from verse, I have it down in my notes from verse 8. Okay, we start from verse 8. And you shall count 7 Shabbaths of years for yourself, 7 times 7 years, and the time of the 7 Shabbaths of years shall be to you 49 years. You shall then sound a ram's horn to pass through on the 10th day of the 7th month on Yom HaKippurim. Cause a ram's horn to pass through all your land, and you shall Kadosh the 50th year, and proclaim release throughout all the land to all its inhabitants. It is a Yovel for you, and each of you shall return to his possession, and each of you return to his clan. The 50th year is a Yovel to you. Do not sow, nor reap what grows of its own, nor gather from its unpruned find. It is a Yovel, it is Kodesh to you. Eat from the field its crops. I will stop from there. From there, just a second interpretation of her, the feast of Yovel, or the Jubilee year. I will be taking you to once again Vayikra or Leviticus chapter 27. I'll start from verse 16 and I'll read up to verse 25. Um, and if a man kadosh to Yahuwah a field he owns, then your evaluation shall be according to the seed for it, a homer of barley seed at 50 shekels of silver. If he kadosh his field from the year of Yovel, according to your evaluation it stands. But if he kadosh his field after the Yovel, then the Kohen shall reckon to him the silver due according to the years that remain till the year of Yovel, and it shall be deducted from your evaluation. And if he who kadoshed the field would redeem it, then he shall add 1/5 of the silver of your evaluation to it, and it shall be his. And if he does not redeem the field, or if he has sold the field to another man, it is no longer redeemed. But the field, when it is released in the Yovel, is Kodesh to Yahuwah as a dedicated field to the possession of the Kohen. And if a man Kadosh to Yahuwah a field which he has bought which is not the field of his possession, then the Kohen shall reckon to him the amount of your evaluation up to the year of Yovel, and he shall give your evaluation on that day, Kodesh to Yahuwah. In the year of Yovel, the field returns to him from whom he bought it, to him whose is the possession of the land, and all your evaluations are to be according to the shekel of the Kodesh place, 20 gerahs for the shekel. Sorry, that was a Jubilee year. Concerning what happens during the Jubilee year, what is returned to someone in the Jubilee year. If you set it apart to the Most High, or you buy in the Jubilee year, what happens? But I just want to go back to chapter 25, just to cover a specific point that I said about the Book of Jubilees. Um, this is going to play a big part, and you shall count 7 Shabbathot of years for yourself, 7 times 7 years, and the time of the 7 Shabbathot of years shall be to you 49 years. You shall then sound a ram's horn to pass through on the 10th day of the 7th month. On Yom HaKippurim, cause a ram's horn to pass through all your land. Now, before you hallow the 50th year, on the 49th year, 10th month, you have to sound the shofar first. Now, this number here, 49. Let's test this number here, 49. Before we get to the 50, I want us to test this 49. If we go to chapter 6, once again, of the Book of Jubilees, it says, and Noah and his sons observed it for 7 Jubilees and 1 week of years. So from there, we shall first go to Genesis 7, because we must first understand how old was Noah during the time that the flood came upon the earth. So if we go to Bereshith or Genesis chapter 7. Yes, Genesis chapter 7. It says, now Noah was 600 years old when the flood waters were on the earth. So Noah was 600 when the flood happened. Now, what is important here, after the flood, he was still 600 years old. But we have a mathematical equation here. It says Noah and his sons observed it for, once again, so I don't lose myself, for 7 Jubilees and 1 week of years. Okay. Before you hallow in a full 50 year Jubilee, you first need to have the 49 year, and on Yom Kippur, hallow in by blowing the shofar. So let's times it by the 49. Okay, so Noah was 600 years old. So let's do 7 times 49. What would that give us? 7 times 49 will give us 343 if on a calculator. But for those that want to do it in their minds, we can do it in our minds as well. If we do 7 times 40, that will give us 280, because as we know, 7 times 4 is 28. And if we do 7 times 9, there's an easier way to do this. You could just do 7 times 7, which 7 times 7, which is 49. 7 times 8, which is 50, 50 54? Yes, 54. 54? 54? 7 times 8? So, yes, 7 times 8, 54. No, it's not 54. 7 times 7 is 49. 7 times 8, sorry, 56. Yes, 56, sorry. My maths is gone. 56. Then 7 times 9 is 63. So, what we do now is we will do 280 plus 63. If you want to do it a simpler way, 280 plus 20 gives you 300, plus the remaining 43 will give you 343. And it also goes on to say 1 week of years. So you have 343 plus 1 week of years, meaning 1 week of years meaning 7, will give you 350 years. Now this 350 years, let us see how old 300, if we have 900, if we have 600, and we add 350 years, that would give us exactly 950. Now let us go to a scripture to see how old Noah was when he died. How old Noah was when he died. For this one, we shall go to Genesis chapter 9. Genesis chapter 9. We'll read from verse 28 to verse 29. And Noah lived after the flood 350 years, so all the days of Noah were 950 years, and he died. So where it says in the book of Jubilees, Noah and his son observed it until the day of Noah's death, 350 years after the flood would give us 950. 300, the same with the account says in Genesis, Noah was 950 years old when he died. Now, from this number, 950, for full Jubilee year, for example, if we divide 950 by 50, what number do we get? We get 19 Jubilees. If we get 19 Jubilees, but if we divide 350 now by the number 7, we get 50. A whole Jubilee year, meaning 50 years, and 49 plus 1, 50 days for Shavuoth or Pentecost. Do you see what I'm trying to get at now? Now, to continue on in the book of Jubilees, it goes on to say, but Abraham, no, I read that one already. I'll start from verse 23 this time. And on the new moon of the first month, and on the new moon of the 4th month, and on the new moon of the 7th month, and on the new moon of the 10th month are the days of remembrance, and the days of the seasons, in the 4 divisions of the year. These are written and ordained as a testimony forever. And Noah ordained them for himself as feasts for the generations forever, so that they have become thereby a memorial unto him. And on the new moon of the 1st month, he was bidden to make for himself an ark, and on that day the earth became dry, and he opened and saw the earth, And on the new moon of the 4th month, the mouths of the depths of the abyss beneath were closed, and on the new moon of the 7th month, all the mouths of the abysses of the earth were opened, and the waters began to descend into them. And on the new moon of the 10th month, the tops of the mountains were seen, and Noah was glad. And on this account he ordained them for himself as feasts for memorial forever, and thus they are ordained, and they place them on the heavenly tablets. Each has 13 weeks from one to another, past their memorial, from the first to the second, from the second to the third, and from the third to the fourth. All the days of the commandment will be 250 weeks of days, and these will make the entire year complete. Thus it is engraven and ordained on the heavenly tablets. Now, this is interesting because um, from this, people like to say, because it says the new moon of the 1st month, the new moon of the 4th month, the new moon of the 7th month, and the new moon of the 10th month, Noah ordained them as feasts to himself. People have made, it's now seen as that Shavuoth is on the 4th month. Okay, if we was to take into this argument, this is what it was talking from, I could simply ask you this question. We have feasts in the 1st month. Yes, we do. Apparently, we have feasts in the 4th month. We have feasts in the 7th month. Yes, we do. But what feast did Yahuwah give us in the 10th month? Before anyone wants to say Hanukkah, Hanukkah wasn't ordained by Yahuwah, number one. And number two, Hanukkah is not in the 10th month. Kislev is the 9th Hebrew month. So we have 14710. What is 14710? If you get a Hebrew calendar, for anyone, if you like to go online, just look at any Hebrew calendar, you will see something. In the 1st month, in the Hebrew calendar, there is always something which cannot be missed, which is Aviv, or nowadays known as Nisan. It's the start of spring, or the vernal equinox. On Tammuz, which is the 4th Hebrew month, it's the summer solstice, or the beginning of summer. On Tishrei, which is the 7th Hebrew month, is always autumn, or the autumnal equinox. And the new moon of the 10th month, which is Teveth, is always winter. We always, in a year, in the Hebrew calendar, in the 12 months of the year, you always have spring, summer, autumn, and winter. Those things we can never miss. One in the 1st month is always spring. The 4th month is always summer. The 7th month is always autumn, and the 10th month is autumn, always winter. You can never miss it, if you understand the point that I'm making. And in the middle of these months, if you notice, in the middle of these months, when we're going from one season to another, is always in the new moon in the middle of these seasons. That's when the seasons begins to change. So summer would run into autumn for the 1st month and a half, but after the other month and a half, autumn kicks in. The same with winter. You have winter's not so cold in the 1st month and a half, but on the second part of winter month and a half, winter gets cold. Same with spring, and so on and so forth, if that makes sense. Sorry, I'm not the most intelligent person, but just to kind of back off that is talking about the 4 divisions of the year, we can continue saying, and all the days of the commandment will be 52 weeks of days, and these will make the entire year complete. That it is engraven and ordained on the heavenly tablets, and there is no neglecting this commandment for a single year or from year to year, and command thou the children of Israel that they observe the years according to this reckoning 364 days, and these will constitute a complete year, and they will not disturb its time from its days and from its feasts, for everything will fall out in them according to their testimony, and they will not leave out any day nor disturb any feast, But if they neglect and do not observe them according to his commandment, then they will disturb all their seasons, and the years will be dislodged from disorder, and they will disturb the seasons, and the years will be dislodged, and they will neglect their ordinances, and the children of Israel will forget and will not find the path of the years, and will forget the new moons and seasons and Sabbaths, and they will go wrong as to all the order of the years. For I know, and from henceforth will I declare it unto thee, that and it is not of my own devising, for the book lies written before me, and on the heavenly tablets the division of days is ordained, lest they forget the feast of the covenant and walk according to the feast of the Gentiles, after their error and after their ignorance. For there will be those who will assuredly make observations of the moon, how it disturbs the seasons and comes in from year to year 10 days too soon. For this reason the years will come upon them, when they will disturb the order and make an abominable day the day of testimony, and an unclean day a feast day, and they will confound all the days, and the holy with the unclean, and the unclean with the holy, for they will go wrong as to the months and Sabbaths and feasts and jubilees. For this reason I command and testify to thee, that thou mayest testify to them. For after thy death thy children will disturb them, so that they will not make the year 364 days only, and for this reason they will go wrong as to the new moons and seasons and Sabbaths and festivals, and they will eat all kinds of blood with all kinds of flesh. So you can see already that it's talking about not the feast, but the actual divisions of the year. 364, example. If you take a calculator, you do 364, you divide it by 7, it gives you 52 weeks. If you understand the point I'm trying to say. And if you divide 52, so divide 52 by if you divide 52 by 12, which are the 12 months of the year, it gives you 4.3, which is closer to the 4 mark. So you have the 4 divisions of the year. If any of that makes sense to anyone. What I'm just trying to simply show you is that in this chapter itself, it's talking about Shavuoth being in the 3rd month. That Shavuoth and the Jubilee are more or less the same thing. But for those that still don't understand and still don't believe, or say they still want more evidence how Shavuot can be in the 3rd month, we will go to the Jubilees chapter. We'll go to Jubilees chapter 14. If you go to the book of Jubilees chapter 14, from verse 1, it says, "After these things, in the 4th year of this week, on the new moon of the 3rd month, the word of Yahuwah came to Avram in a dream, saying, Fear not, Avram, I am thy defender, and thy reward will be exceedingly great. And he said, Lord, Lord, what wilt thou give me, seeing I go hence childless, and the son of Masek, the son of my handmaid, is Damasek Eliezer. He will be my heir, and to me thou hast given no seed. And he said unto him, This man will not be thy heir, but one that will come out of thine own bowels, he will be thine heir. And he brought him forth abroad, and said unto him, Look toward heaven, and number the stars, if thou art able to number them. And he looked toward heaven, and beheld the stars. And he said unto him, So shall thy seed be. And he believed in Yahuwah, and it was counted to him for righteousness. And he said unto him, I am Yahuwah that brought thee out of Ur of the Chaldees, to give thee of the land of the Canaanites, to possess it forever, and I will be God unto thee and to thy seed after thee. And he said, Yahuwah, Yahuwah, whereby shall I know, for I shall inherit it? And he said unto him, Take me an heifer of 3 years, and a goat of 3 years, and a sheep of 3 years, and a turtle dove, and a pigeon. And he took all these in the middle of the month, and he dwelt at the oak of Mamre, which is near Hebron. And So, sorry, I'm just trying to see if there's more pertaining to this there. Oh yes, if you skip down this, I just want to skip down to verse 21. No, verse 20. And on that day we made a covenant with Abraham according as we had covenanted with Noah in this month, and Abraham renewed the festival and ordinance for himself forever. And Abraham rejoiced and made all these things known to Sarai his wife, and he believed that he would have seed, but she did not bear. So once again you have the third month in the middle of the month, and that's in chapter 14. If you go now on to chapter 15, we go to verse, I'll just read verse 1. And in the 5th year of the 4th week of this jubilee, in the 3rd month, in the middle of the month, Avram celebrated the feast of the first fruit of the grain harvest. I don't need to read any more after that. As you can see in Jubilees 15, it says it again in the middle of the 3rd month. Just like it says in chapter 6 in the book of Jubilees, Abraham also observed it. You have two evidences, but just to show the difference also between the 4th month and the 3rd month, we shall go to Jubilees. We shall go to Jubilees chapter 16. And on the new moon of the 4th month, we appeared unto Abraham at the oak of the Mamre, and we talked with him, and we announced to him that a son would be given to him by Sarah his wife. And Sarah laughed, for she heard that we had spoken these words with Avram, and we admonished her, and she became afraid and denied that she had laughed on account of the words. And we told her the name of her son, as his name is ordained and written in the heavenly tablets, Yitzhak. And in that, when we returned her at a set time, she would have conceived a son. And in this month, Yahuwah executed the judgments of Sodom and Amorah and Zeboim and the region of the Jordan, and he burned them with fire and brimstone and destroyed them until this day, even as lo, I have declared unto thee all these works, that they are wicked and sinners, and that they defile themselves and commit fornication in their flesh and work uncleanness on the earth. If you go on, I'm going to skip these parts because I want to trying to prove a point here. Yes. And in the middle of the verse 11. And in the middle of the 5th month, he moved from thence and dwelt at the well of Oath. In the middle of the 6th month, Yahuwah visited Sarah and did unto her as she had spoken, and she conceived, and she bare a son in the 3rd month, and in the middle of the month, at the time of which Yahuwah had spoken to Abraham, on the festival of the first fruits of the harvest, Yitzhak was born. So you can see that it says that it was talking about in the 4th month, judgment was given upon Sodom and Amorah. But in the 3rd month, in the middle of the month, on the harvest festival, Yitzhak was born. So you can see already a distinction between the 3rd month, the 4th month, and the 3rd month. If that makes us, that's what I'm just saying. Again, if we go to the Book of Jubilees, we go to chapter 29 from verse 5. And the 7th year of the week, Yaakov turned his face toward Gilead in the 1st month on the 21st thereof, and Lavan pursued after him and overtook Yaakov in the mountain of Gilead in the 3rd month on the 13th thereof. And Yahuwah did not suffer him to injure Yaakov, for he appeared to him in a dream by night, and Lavan spoke to Yaakov. And on the 15th of those days, Yaakov made a feast for Lavan and for all who came with him. And Yaakov swore to Lavan that day, and Lavan also to Yaakov, that neither should cross the mountain of Gilead to the other with evil purpose. And it goes on to say, And he made there a heap for a witness. Therefore the name of that place is called the heap of witness after this heap. But before they used to call the land of Gilead the land of the Rephaim, for it was the land of Rephaim, and the Rephaim were born there giants whose height was 8 down to 7 cubits, and their habitations were from the land of the children of Ammon to Mount Hermon, and the seats of their kingdom were Karnaim and Ashtaroth and Edrei and Misur and Beon. So you could already see once again the third month is once again spoken of when Lavan and Yaakov and Lavan made a witness together that no one will, when they made a covenant together, a witness heap together that no one will pass over to the other one with evil intent. If we go again, Jubilees chapter 44, I'm only going to read from verse 1 to verse 4. And Israel took his journey from Haran from his house on the new moon of the third month, and he went on the way of the well of the oath, and he offered a sacrifice to the God of his father Yitzhak on the seventh of this month. On the seventh of this month, and Yaakov remembered the dream that he had seen at Bethel, and he feared to go down into Mizraim. And while he was thinking of sending word to Joseph to come to him, that he would not go down, he remained there 7 days, if perchance he could see a vision as to whether he should return or go down. And he celebrated the harvest festival of the first fruits with old grain, for in all the land of Canaan there was not a handful of seed in the land, for the famine was over all the beasts and cattle and birds, and also over man. And on the 16th, Yahuwah appeared unto him and said to him, Yaakov, Yaakov. And he said, Here am I. He said unto him, I am the God of thy fathers, the God of Abraham, Yitzhak. Fear not to go down into Mizraim, for I will there make of thee a great nation. I will go down with thee, and I will bring thee up again, and in this land shalt thou be buried, and Joseph shall put his hand upon thy eyes. Fear not, go down into Egypt, Mizraim. And his sons rose up, and his sons' and they placed their father and their possessions upon wagons. And Israel rose up from the well of the oath on the 16th of this third month, and he went to the land of Mizraim. And the last one, Book of Jubilees, once again, chapter 17. And in the first year of the fifth week, Yitzhak was weaned in this jubilee, and Abraham made a great banquet in the third month on the day his son Yitzhak was weaned. So you can see from, hopefully, I've been able to convince some. If I've not been able to convince any of them, I apologize for wasting your time anyway. But it's been a long while. It's been a long time. I myself have been in my own congregation where some of us have left. I've left, or I normally separate myself around this time period because I don't agree with the 99-day Shavuot. But just by showing by the evidence of Jubilees, and for those, for example, that don't see the significance of Noah and what I was able to show from the calculation, I just want to show if, for example, we was to do 600, if we was to do if we was to do 7 times 99 plus 350, we will get 1,293. Do you see what I'm saying? Or if you was to do, let's see, 100 times 7 plus 600, you'd get 1,300 years. And that's an abomination, because the eldest man who ever lived, his name was Methuselah. He was the son of Enoch or Hanoch. He was 969 years old when he died. That's the oldest man that's ever lived. After him was Lamech. Sorry, my correction, not Lamech, it was Yared. Yared was 962. After him was Noah, who was 950. We have Seth, who was 912. Adam was 930. We have Mahalalel, who was 895. Enoch was 365 when the Most High took him. Enosh was 905. The main thing I'm just trying to say, guys, is just, I understand we can want to be so zealous, but sometimes just be easy. Like, it's not that deep. I myself was of that mentality where it has to be done like this, like this, like this, like this. And I was so strict. But I had a situation recently, and like, it's interesting because I always say when I learn something from someone, I always bear it in mind. Funny enough, I learned it from a woman, and is that when you go through something and you have time to think about everything, you're like, wow, like, who was I becoming? Because it's like you can easily become egotistic, self-absorbed, self-seeking, self-everything. And the main thing for me is not about self anymore. Like, sometimes I'll separate myself from the congregation during this time because I'll be like, oh, they're doing it wrong, I don't want to be there. But at the same time, what's the point? Do you see what I'm saying? Like, I can do that, but Shabbat at home is not the same way. It's not the same as if you're in a congregation. Especially me, I wanted to keep Shabbat outside. I wanted to be out in nature and just be in nature. But even then, I have to go. The nature reserve I wanted to go to is far. So why don't I just go to service? Do you see what I'm saying? It was a custom that every Shabbat, Yeshua and Shaul used to go to the synagogue, or in Hebrew, Bet Knesset. And obviously, Israelites were the same. So why don't I just keep up that custom? I don't have to, but I like to. So, like, all of this mad stuff that people leave in and cussing each other, saying you're the devil and so on and so forth. Listen, I've been in this Shavuot situation. I've been inside congregations. I've separated myself, but not once can someone try to tell me that I've called someone evil, the devil. All I'll say is that it would hurt me. It hurts me to go against some people, or I just don't understand why people just don't get it. Do you see what I'm saying? But at the same time, everyone's on their, one thing I was able to learn, we're all on our own personal journeys. Whether we like to, whether we want to, everyone's on their personal journey, and our journeys are not all the same. Not to say my one's a significant thing, because I'm just someone that reads. But the main thing I want to say is that if you agree or disagree regardless, may the Most High bless you and keep you, make you prosper in all your ways. May He guard you like the apple of your eyes. May He keep you safe and wrap you in the love of His friend, in the same love that He showed to his friend Abraham. May He preserve you from all harm, even after those that try to persecute you, like He done to Ishaq, his slave. And may He deliver you from all your troubles and afflictions, like He done with Yaakov, his firstborn son also. So everyone stay blessed, prosperity, love, blessings, everything. I say shalom, shalom, shalom to the brothers, to the sisters, to everyone, to the 12 tribes of Israel, to also those from the nations that are not our brothers in flesh but in spirit, that also will have a portion with us in the kingdom to come. Any lot in the kingdom they choose, they want to be theirs. To the Israelites, to the Christians, to the people that just study but the Bible, and whoever's listened to this, to those in my congregations, family, whatever, family, friends, enemies, I don't care. Shalom, shalom, shalom. Nothing but love and blessings. Shalom. If you're listening to this in the Shabbat, Shabbat shalom. I'm tired, as you can tell by my voice. So, yeah. Shalom.